spins, drives home in the corner. Cunningham a three. It's good. Brock knocks it down. His first shot. And the Horns back within 3 at 14-11. Rice to Allen. Trying to dribble penetrate. Sends it out to Cunningham. Shoots a three. Good! Instant offense. Brock Cunningham. 8 quick points off the bench. And the game is tied at 16. Here's Carr on the left side. Can Texas convert? Marcus drive in. Kicks in the corner. Rice for three. Good! They needed that one. Timeout Oklahoma. 7:26 to go. The Horns are back within 2. Here's Carr to the right side. Marcus out to Brock Cunningham. Into the corner. Rice shooting a three. Good! Jabari Rice, a three-pointer. The game is tied at 67. Longhorns looking for the lead. Outside Rice. Wants another three. Has another three. NBA range three. Timeout Oklahoma. Carr into the front court. Against Otega Owe. To the left side to Timmy Allen. Guarded by Jalen Hill. Trying to drive past. Hill does, but then cut off to Dessou in the paint again. Lofts another and scores.
Another floater. Good job of knowing where he is. Knock the foul and go up strong.
12 for Dessou. Longhorns back in front. 77-75. Carr knocked the ball loose. Talon back to Marcus. He'll lay it in. Timeout Oklahoma. Texas. A lightning strike 6-0 run, and they're up 4 with 3:22 to go in overtime. Sherfield to bring it into the front court. To Milos Usan. Trying to roll around on the dribble. Stops. Drops it to Owe. He hit the floor. Lost it. Cunningham coming away with it. To Rice. Lead pass front court. Allen a crossover. Gets the bucket and one. What a great crossover move by Timmy Allen. Split into the fence. Got the bucket. Drew the foul on Sherfield. Oklahoma inbounds with 6.8 to go. Running the baseline. Hill looking. Still looking. Inbounds. Here comes Hill. Down the floor. 4 seconds. 3. Carried the ball. Got away with it. 2 seconds. 1. Shot put up. No good. Longhorns win. Godwin missed it in the lane. Jalen Hill carried the ball to the right side. There was no call. Flipped it to Godwin. He missed the shot right in the lane. The Longhorns survive in overtime. 85-83. Harmon quickly into the baseline. Jumper from there off the rim. No good by Gonzalez. Offensive rebound. Hattie Fye does it again. Her 4th stick back of this first quarter. Harmon has it on the right side. Out to Shaylee Gonzalez. Behind a Gaston. Screen for 3. And Shaylee buries the three-pointer. To the right side. Once more it works to Gaston. Now across the floor. Harmon has it. 1 to shoot. Fade away. Jumper good at the shot clock buzzer. Hattie looking now coming off the screen. Gonzalez 10 to shoot. Into Gaston. Muscles her way in to bank it off the glass. Into the left corner. Anissa Gutierrez trying to get her a shot. Down the 3 to 2. When Antanes a launch a 3 and nails it.
Well, of course she did.
It's that kind of day for Texas today. The Longhorns pick up win number 21. They are still tied for first place in the Big 12 Conference standings with the showdown in Norman coming up next Saturday. Final score this afternoon from Moody Center in Austin. The Texas Longhorns 74. The West Virginia Mountaineers 48. Pretty successful weekend on the hardwood. On the diamond, different story. At least for baseball. Softball did really well. Action-packed weekend is what it was. And with that, we welcome you to Light the Tower. On the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. My name is Craig Way. Glad to have you with us. Always happy to be joined by my co-host, the pride of Northwest Williamson County. And not only that, a proud graduate of Florence High School.
Very proud.
They knew him as Highway 79 in his days of wearing the purple and white jersey number 79 as an honorable mention all-district offensive lineman for the Florence Buffaloes. But you know him best for his outstanding work at Horns 24/7. That's Jeff Howe. Most importantly, Charlotte update.
Double ear infection, but she's getting over it. She's much better. It was much better Saturday and was well enough yesterday to go to the rodeo for a little bit.
Hey, good. At
the petting zoo, we went to see the pigs and the cows in the barn. So it's getting better.
Went down that road with all 4 of my kids. I know that deal. When you get that earache, there's probably an infection involved there, and glad it was nothing that antibiotics can't handle, right?
The worst part was me having to clean up, let's just say, some bodily fluids in the car on Friday. So
that happens.
2 thumbs up for that. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of Lysol. Clorox wipes.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Okay, all right, good.
Little Febreze, and we're good to go. Now, nobody told me to get my fluids before I came in this morning, at risk of dehydration.
No kidding. The funny thing is, as we bring in the program, you may be able to hear if you listen very.
Here, I'll put my mic
carefully.
over there. Hold on.
Yeah, listen really, really closely. What that is the sound of a fan, like a cool air fan, not an oscillating fan. The reason is in this studio this morning, you could roast marshmallows. It was really warm. The funny thing about it is Bucky and Aaron did an entire show with the door closed. Bucky in a hoodie.
Yeah, Bucky said old people like it warm. I'm like, first off, it's not the geriatric ward in here. Second off, there's a difference between warm and me feeling like I got a fireball thrown in my face when I opened the door.
So anyway, there was
look, with respect to Bucky and Aaron, those two did an entire show one time with dog crap in the corner, and neither one of them smelled it.
Yeah. Awareness, right? So they went all the way through it. So anyway, they're done. So we're trying to cool off a little bit.
I had to raise the red flag on Deucegate.
Yeah, you did. I'm glad you did do that. On the other side of the glass,
I don't know if our esteemed producer is familiar with Deucegate.
Cameron Parker's there. Are you familiar with Deucegate?
Yes, I was producing Chad and Trey that day.
Oh, back in the day with the Deucegate.
Good old Deucegate.
Yeah. Cam Parker, our producer, but it's not hot in there, is it?
No.
Okay.
No, it's fine in here, but it is a sauna in y'all's room.
It's a sauna. It's actually, if it were a sauna, we could kind of like sweat through it and all that. It's like a real desert dry heat is what it is there. So anyway, we got fans blowing in here trying to cool it off.
We got the door open.
Yeah. Hope you're feeling all right. Hope you're doing all right. Hope CB's feeling better. Says he's got COVID. So,
CB got the Rona?
Yeah, he got it. They said everybody that I live with had it. Then I finally caught it 2 weeks after getting the latest booster. Yeah, it's sometimes that happens. It's like right after you get the booster, because they say it really takes 3 weeks for the full booster to take full effect.
That's like when people around you start getting the flu, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get the flu shot." You're too late at that point.
Yeah.
The oven has already started.
It's like
that cake just went in.
I always love that line from MASH where Hawkeye Pierce says to Hot Lips Houlihan, who gave him that shot for the flu, he goes, "You remember that shot you gave me the flu? Yes. Well, it worked. I've got it." That kind of thing. So anyway, get
well, CB. Craig, you've been, knock on wood, you've been vaccinated and boosted and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Are you the only one up here that's avoided the Rona? I think you and Rod Babers. I don't think Rod's had it.
Well, I tell you what, I pale by comparison, and I don't just mean that in terms of our races and our pigmentation, but I mean by a large measure to Roderick Babers when it comes to the sanitary procedures, the sanitation procedures he took to protect himself throughout all of this.
Rod still carries around his Rona kit. He got his Lysol and his wipes.
Sprays down, wipes down, all that other kind of stuff. He still does that. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I've been vaccinated and tried to be careful. And whenever I had to wear a mask, I wore a mask. When I was required to or needed to or thought it was, I did.
Cameron, have you got the Rona yet, or
just once?
Just once.
Okay. All right. So you're right. I'm trying to think of everybody.
I don't know if Harge has or not.
Yeah, right. Just about everybody.
Bucky's had it. Aaron's had it. Chad's had it.
I don't know about Zay.
I don't know about Zay either.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully he has it. Hopefully you're doing well. Big Crit fan says, if you ain't sweating, you ain't working. Well, we're working it this morning. So there's that's. So he said, y'all have more problems with AC. Almost every vaccinated person I know got the virus. That happened in a lot of ways, and I know people who didn't get vaccinated who didn't get it. But I know most of the people I know who did get vaccinated didn't get it, and I know a lot of people who didn't vaccinate who did get it. I've looked at that as being almost a lottery. Depending on your own personal thing.
Not a lottery you want to win.
No, No. So anyway, it just happened.
Can I share something I was going to share with the listening audience? With my daughter getting sick last week, and I realized over the weekend, and again this morning, I'll be 40 in September, Greg, and my body's starting to break down on me. I'm starting to fall apart.
Oh, stop it already.
No, I'm serious. So I remember John Medani. This was probably about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember when Medani had that meniscus surgery, and he said every time he would take a step up or a step down, his knee would catch?
Yeah.
I've got that going on in my right knee. I've had it going on for a couple months now, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Do you think that that's part of some deterioration from your football playing days?
No, I never had knee problems back then. I think this is more of my arthritis condition that I've developed as I've gotten older, and Lord knows how long I've had it now that I've pieced everything together. But over the weekend, I've always had bad shoulders, and I was washing dishes of all things on Friday, and I'm scrubbing with my right shoulder. By the time I'm done, I couldn't pick up my right shoulder.
Wow.
I just had to go sit down for a minute and let it kind of get some feeling back in it. And, about 10, 15 minutes later, I was like, okay, I'm good. And then I just didn't do anything. I slept on my left shoulder, and man, it felt like somebody was just grinding my shoulder joints together this morning. So it was I was like, dude, I'm falling the heck apart right now.
Yeah, I understand it.
How's your sack doing, by the way?
My elbow, the bursa, yes, or as you would say, the sack. It's doing better.
Oh,
still,
you're
clearing up, isn't it?
Infinitely better than you were.
Yeah, it's clearing up. Still sore. It's in the wrist injury and in the elbow, and that happened 3 weeks ago.
Did you ever get you one of them cool sleeves?
I did.
Yeah?
I did. I wore it for a while, and it was a little tight up top, and so Linda made a nice little cut, little incision, kind of loosened it up there. But and it worked. She ordered it for me. Linda is the queen of Amazon,
I think we can get you some non-traditional revenue by selling the Craig Way shooting sleeve.
Yeah, right. So anyway, it worked. I'm feeling better on that. Somebody else is on the Specs text line at 337-3776 is same here. It's agony. And it said knee keeps popping out.
Yeah. Apparently on the by the way, folks, don't WebMD your symptoms. It'll take you down a rabbit hole you just don't want to go down. Apparently, if your pain is on the sides of your knee, that's a meniscus issue. But if it's on the front, like where I've got it, apparently that's a cartilage issue.
Yeah.
So I think mine is a cartilage issue, but that doesn't. It hurts like a mother. Like if I take a wrong step, it's like I just get all kinds of searing pain in there. A pop and some searing pain.
Okay, let's kind of do the roll call of events you were able to witness and did not witness over the weekend. So let me go down the list there. Did you get to see any of the baseball? That by way, I know you weren't in Arlington, but did you get to see any of the baseball?
The only baseball I saw was yesterday. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw some baseball.
Yeah, you did. Saw some extended innings, did you? Yeah. Okay, all right. And we'll circle back to that in a moment. Obviously, you were at the men's basketball
I was at the game on Saturday.
Yep. Probably did a little check-in look in to see how the women were doing yesterday, and and they routed West Virginia. Big week from them. I
didn't check in too much. I kind of figured where that thing was headed. So
they took command of it early. And here's an interesting deal: they have their midweek Big 12 bye this week, so they don't have a midweek game. They have this big showdown with Oklahoma for first place in the conference standings. Curiously and ironically enough, this week is also Oklahoma's midweek bye. And Vic Schaefer wasn't real happy about the bye coming so late in the deal. I mean, they played, 15 games now. Yeah. They're 12-3 in the conference, so they played 15 conference games. So, but as Kathy Harston pointed out at the end of the broadcast, I'm sure he won't complain. When it was right near the end of the game, she said in about another 15, 20 minutes, he won't complain because now they get it this week. He gave the players 2 days off last week, which is rare for them coming out of that, and because they played 4 games in 8 days. And I think they have another day off today, and then they're really going to put in the hard grind because it's not going to be easy going. They beat Oklahoma handily at Moody Center. But I say this, and I say this, and I say this, and it applies to both the men's game and the women's game. The home court is gigantic in this league. For folks who are just like amazed at what Kansas did on Saturday on the men's side against Baylor, and they were down 17 in the first half, and won by 16. They had a 33-point turnaround. 29 of those. They outscored them by 29 in the second half. Home court has a lot to do with it, a lot to do with turning around games. And we've seen it now. If you win a game on the road, that's a bonus. Credit to Texas Tech coming off the win over Texas, going to Morgantown and beating West Virginia.
To your point, Craig, in conference play for the men, would you like to know who has the best conference road record right now?
It's either
in Big 12 play.
It's either going to be just pure guess. It's either going to be Texas or Kansas.
Texas, Kansas, and Baylor are all 4-3.
Yeah,
that's the best road record in the conference.
So we're going to find how Kansas does on the road tonight in Fort Worth. Remember, TCU beat Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse when they had their full roster, and they're pretty much back to the full roster, getting Mike Miles Jr. back on Saturday. They scored 100 and blew out Oklahoma State. But Kansas, impressive turnaround. So watch that one tonight and see, because I think that's going to tell you quite a bit about the stretch drive, because Texas, Kansas, and Baylor all have difficult 4-game stretches remaining. Of course, Baylor now was a game off the pace, having lost to Kansas on Saturday. So Texas and Kansas are tied for first. And, of course, the Longhorns play tomorrow night at home against Iowa State. Then they go up I-35 to Waco on Saturday. They'll come back home, then go back up I-35 again the following Wednesday to play at TCU, and then come home to play Kansas to conclude the regular season. You say, wow, what a stretch. They all have tough stretches right now. And it's the same on the women's side, too, where home court has absolutely dominated. So Texas, which beat Oklahoma handily, I think they beat them by 25 in the game here, has to go to Norman, the Texas women do, to play OU after both had their midweek byes. The winner of that game is going to be up one with 2 games remaining and probably is going to have the inside track to winning the Big 12 championship, especially Texas, because they would own a regular season series sweep of OU if they did, and they could clinch no worse than a tie for the title and the number 1 seed in the conference tournament with a win the turnaround Monday on Big Monday against Baylor on senior night.
So just looking at the men's side, probably saying Baylor's the cutoff of teams that have a legit chance to go win it. I mean, K-State and Iowa State are both 8-6. A lot would have to happen.
A lot would have to. They have to run the table and then have to have some unusual things happen. Teams would have to be losing home games, which probably it has proven to be, not almost non-existent, but rare this year. Yeah. So yes, I think it's a 3-team, maybe a 4-team race with Iowa State, depending on what happens. But that's
why tomorrow's so important.
Oh, for both.
Yeah.
Big for Texas.
It's pretty much a regular season title elimination game for Iowa State.
It is. They would have to win. And Baylor tomorrow night plays in Manhattan. They're doing the 2-game road turnaround like Texas did, only in the inverse. When the Longhorns won in Manhattan and lost on Big Monday to Kansas, they're doing the deal where they played in Lawrence. And they have 1 extra day, but they play tomorrow in Manhattan. So that would be an elimination game for them in terms of the conferencing. One would almost expect it to be if they were to lose that contest.
How surprised were you? I know we're going to hit a break here in a minute. We'll get to our Longhorn notebook at the bottom of the hour, but how surprised were you the result of that Texas Tech West Virginia game? Tech going on the road, going to Morgantown and getting a win.
Yeah, they got Pop Isaacs back.
Yep,
that was a big part of it. I think.
But Jalen Tyson had 27.
Yeah. I think it opened the floor for him a little bit more. And for all of that stuff about how dangerous a tournament team Tech could be, and they're absolutely right. Here's the thing that you got to remember: Tech, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and then either TCU or Oklahoma State. And they have split their 2 regular season games after TCU's win on Saturday. That's a huge finish for either one of those to finish in 6th, not 7th, because whoever finishes 7th, along with those other 3, has to play on Wednesday, meaning you have to win 4 games in 4 days to win the Big 12 tournament. It's never happened. It's happened on the women's side. It's never happened on the men's side.
Baylor got to the championship game. I think that's the closest anybody's gotten.
Missouri got there.
Yeah.
Also, didn't Tech get there once? I know that Baylor and Missouri got there, winning 3 games in 3 days, and then hit the wall on the final day.
You might be right about Tech. I'll double check that,
right.
But during the break, and have an answer for you. But like Tech, if you look at their NCAA tournament resume, like they're 54th in the net. and
Yeah.
they're 4-9 in quad one games. I don't think 4 quad one wins is going to get you over the hump.
No, they would need to finish strong and then have a strong tournament to have a shot. And again, the record's not that much above 500. I think Oklahoma's played its way completely out of that deal now, being below 500. Other than, of course, winning the conference tournament, they have to win it and get the automatic bid. So those two. West Virginia, I think, still has a shot, but that was a damaging home loss to Texas Tech. They needed a win there, and so they're kind of on the outside looking in, but there's still time for them. There's still time for Oklahoma State. But Oklahoma State and TCU both understand the importance of not finishing 7th. If you can avoid it and finish 6th, to where the max you would play would be 3 games, even if you didn't win the tournament. And if you played 3 games and got to the final, that would be big.
So here's the rest of Tech's schedule. They're at Oklahoma tomorrow.
Okay.
Saturday at home against TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're at Kansas next Tuesday, and their finale is in at home against Oklahoma State on the 4th.
Yeah. 2, maybe 3 of those games I look as realistically winnable games.
Mm-hmm. I would say TCU and Oklahoma State are winnable just because they're at home.
Right. Absolutely. And the OU game could be winnable for them.
I mean, if you're a Tech fan, if you go 3-1 during that stretch, you're 18-13 going into the Big 12 tournament. Yeah,
probably need to win a couple of games, but certainly with a shot to get in. That's why, because this league has been the number 1 RPI net ranked conference in the country by far. And did you notice the comments that came out of the early reveal from the men's selection committee on Saturday when Texas was listed as the top number 2 seed, number 5 overall? Mm-hmm. The comments came not so much about the Longhorns, but about the Big 12. Yeah. They said there's no mistaking the fact that the Big 12 Conference is having a fabulous year, I think the quote was. So they understand it. The committee understands that. So for teams, for the teams that are either on the bubble or on the outside looking in, there's still hope. There's still time. I would say maybe Oklahoma is the only one for sure that they'd probably have to win the tournament. There's still time for Tech. There's still time for Oklahoma State. There's still time for West Virginia, and the other 6 I think are in. But when obviously they don't want to stumble down the stretch and really damage their seed line. But I think the other 6 are in after that.
So I'm looking at Jerry Palm, his bracket projections this morning. Mm-hmm. He's got West Virginia in the first 4.
Oh, playing in Dayton.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I don't know why this thing isn't cooperating with me right now. So yeah, last 4 in are good. West Virginia's in that group of last 4 in. Texas Tech not in that group of first 4 out.
Yeah, that's why I think they've got to keep. I don't think they're, and I'm not even including the automatic if they were to win the Big 12 tournament, because again, it's just going to be so difficult for one team to win 4 games in 4 days to do it. And I don't think this is the year that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean Tech can't get in. They're going to have to continue. If they win tomorrow in Norman, they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So you're taking note of that as well. But I'm not counting them out. I'm not counting Oklahoma State out. I'm not counting West Virginia out of being able to get in as an at-large. They still have shot as an at-large, whereas Oklahoma, I think, has to win the conference tournament, unlikely, and would have to win that to get in.
I think if Tech, let's say that scenario plays out, right, where they go 3-1 down the stretch, you win 2 games in Kansas City, you're 20-14. I've got to think a 20-win team in the Big 12 gets in as an at-large,
especially if there are not a lot of bid stealers.
Right. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You got to. You don't need mid-major bid stealers for, say, a league where the conference champion was probably going to get in, and then that sort of thing. So. That's where that comes into play as well, which makes it all exciting.
When I think about the Big 12 in basketball, I think of it how the committee views the SEC every year for the NCAA baseball tournament. They're going to get the benefit of the doubt just because they're the best league top to bottom.
Yep.
Like Ole Miss was the one last year. People are like, how did Ole Miss get in? I'm like, well, start looking at the metrics and look at who they played. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's understandable. And then they go and win the whole thing.
Yeah, it can happen. All right, we have Longhorn Notebook coming up. We do have the conversation with Rodney Terry. Also, later we have one with Rory Harmon, a brief conversation with her after the women's win yesterday. But what else we got coming on the notebook here?
Some Longhorn football coaches up for some contract extensions. We'll get into that.
Okay, that'll be up coming, and we'll continue with Light the Tower here on the Horn. Don't forget, also, we have Inconceivable later this hour. A lot to come here on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9 AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Well, one thing is notable. When you get to this time of year, and we're talking a lot about March Madness and the NCAA tournament, NBA All-Star Game was last night, and the stretch drive of the NBA season is not far down the road, and we're just around the corner from the start of baseball. All of that, it's a great time to upgrade your home entertainment experience if you haven't been able to do so already, and that's where our good friend Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations comes into play. See, Tom and his staff have all that knowledge and expertise, and probably most important, they have the equipment. They can hook you up. You don't have to worry about going out into those big box stores to shop for that HD TV or the Sonos sound system or any of that stuff. Tom and his staff hook that all up. They'll bring it in. They can do it with the no visible means of support where it looks really clean and no hassle with it as well. Not only that, they're very competitive in their pricing as well. They're not raising prices like a lot of other companies as well. Want to find out more? You can go to their website at avconsultations.com and then give Tom a call, 512-255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Let Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment system of your dreams. Nothing like a little Bob Seger here to get your Monday going on. A little rambling, gambling man. This is Light the Tower on the Horn. Craig Way, Jeff Howe. Our man on Behind the Glass, our producer, Cameron Parker. Right now, it's time for a Longhorn Notebook. Longhorn Notebook brought to you by our friend Aaron Bowersock, your home loan expert, your Longhorn lender. Be sure to check her out on the web at bowersockteam.com, BOWERSOCK, bowersockteam.com. See if she can do for you what she did for Linda and me, and that's to help us get that home loan approval turned around in a snap. She is the person who can make that 10-day or less home loan approval guarantee.
Audio? Good.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have that.
We
start with basketball. Of course, the Longhorns had the airtight win over the Oklahoma Sooners on Saturday, and when the game was over, Eddie Orn and I sat down to talk about it with Rodney Terry, and it was this collective feeling of whew, that one was on the shelf and in the books. In this league, pretty much in any league in college basketball, but especially in this league, you're going to have some games like this, right, where the guys are playing hard but maybe not playing their best. You wind up in a real battle with a rival, wind up having to go to overtime, so much momentum and ebb and flow, and I guess the guys have to reach down inside to find something extra to secure the win.
Well, we prepared to be in a dogfight kind of game. We knew the first game up at Oklahoma, was a one-possession game. So when you're coming in, Porter was going to have his team ready to play, a well-coached team, and coming off a big win. We knew we were going to be in one of these kind of grinded-out kind of games. Early on, they were able to get a lot of the 50-50 balls, and some balls, broken plays kind of went their way, and they probably shot 10, 11 layups in the first half, we just need to come back out in the second half and really try to put it on our defense. And I thought our defense kind of gave us a little bit of separation there to kind of close out in regulation. But we also had to rev it back up again in overtime.
Let me get your thoughts on the 3 straight empty possessions near the end of regulation. And so they still have to get the 3 and they get that bounce out, one of those 50-50 balls that sure fielded. Did you want to get the timeout off the inbounds coming after they had hit it 3 when Marcus was racing up the floor?
No, you know what? Sometimes you do that and they're able to set their defense. They had no timeout. So if we give them a timeout, now they can set their defense, and you draw a play up and you try to get it up the floor, and you struggle just to get into half court. But a lot of times you had the ball in your best player's hand. He had a chance to try to get downhill, get to the basket and win the game without having to, letting them set their defense. Really would prefer not to have been in that position, with us, a couple of empty possessions offensively. If we'd closed out a couple possessions there where we didn't turn, we had a turnover with Timmy there in the post, we were trying to really play through him, and everything. We could have just closed that game out in regulation.
Rodney, I thought the key to tonight was balance. You had balance on your scoring because of the way they approached you. They were taking away your inside and outside, so you guys had to be patient and take up the balance.
Yeah, we did. We had 5 guys in double figure scoring. I thought Dessou gave us a great lift offensively. What they were trying to do every time Marcus came off the ball stream, we knew that they were trying to trap him, and we needed to have a post guy that was ready to make a play. And especially when we're able to put shooters around those guys, you're able to kind of pick your poison on what you want to get done.
You're tied for first with 4 games left. We know the grind continues. Iowa State coming in. They come up a loss at K-State, and then you got to go to Waco, and you got to go to Fort Worth, and then finish with Kansas. I know it's each game as it comes, but important to get this one win here with the grind still left, wouldn't it?
Well, we're going to enjoy this one tonight. I mean, it's a rival game. Again, a game where, we had to come out and try to outcompete an Oklahoma team that we have a lot of respect for in terms of how hard they play and their preparation. So we'll enjoy for one night, and we'll turn our attention toward Iowa State. They played really well up there at their place against us up there. So, we'll be excited about a great challenge here come Tuesday night at home.
Yeah, it'll be quite the challenge. Just looking around this deal, I got an email that showed some upcoming Big 12 games. I mean, everywhere you look, there are big games, like Oklahoma State, Kansas State, this coming Saturday at Gallagher-Iba. That's just an example. There's games like that, and the Longhorns have 4 of those remaining.
I didn't even think about it, Craig. Because Texas is right in the thick of the title race, but I didn't even think about it until you brought it up this morning. If you're one of those teams in Oklahoma State and Iowa State, you want to do everything you can to avoid being in 7th place. You don't want to have to play on that first day.
Do not want to play on the first day, and I think the ones who are in the greatest danger of that are Oklahoma State and TCU.
Yeah.
But
and Iowa State will be in that group.
Iowa State will be in that group.
Tomorrow.
Absolutely. They will fall into that group. And Baylor could fall in that group if they lose to Kansas State tomorrow night.
True, yeah, because they'll be at 6 losses. So,
yeah. So that's why it's crucial. By the way, on the women's side, the Baylor women are in a bit of a free fall. They've lost 3 in a row. They're 7-6 in conference play. They lost at home in double overtime to Iowa State on Saturday.
A lot of grumblings, folks on the Brazos not very happy with Nikki Collin right now.
Yeah, things have not gone well. They've had the thing that's hurting them from everything that I've read and heard and watched the news conferences and things like that is that I heard Aaron use this term this morning, and he used it to apply it to Oklahoma's men, and I think it applies to the Baylor women. They're finding ways to lose games late.
Yeah.
Not calling a timeout to advance the ball after a made bucket, which you can do in the women's game inside a final minute, turning it over in a game-tying three-pointer for the Sooners. There was that, followed by they had a couple opportunities in regulation or late in the game to put Iowa State away. Didn't guard Lexi Donarski on an open three, and she is lethal from beyond the arc and hits it to tie it and get it in overtime. So things like that happen, and it's kind of tough for them right now. And this is a brutal league, as we know, on both sides, men's and women's basketball.
Quick question as far as timeouts go. Do you like, I'll go to Texas at the end of regulation. Do you just you personally, because I know where RT probably leans because we've seen Texas in these situations. Do you prefer call a timeout and set something up, or do you like, hey, made basket, just go because maybe they don't have time to set their defense?
I'm a person that doesn't like throwing a blanket over everything, but I'm also on record. People know that me, I'm a little more old school, seeing it in ACC country where I've been more of the school of get the ball into the front court and call a timeout. Leave yourself, if you can, about 3 seconds to set up, if you can. In that particular case, when that shot went through, there was 6.8 to go. And I get what Rodney Terry was saying and that also comes from the Rick Barnes school as well, about get it and go. And and Oklahoma had no timeouts left, so it makes sense that you don't allow them to get back to set up their defense. Now, that said, I'm also of that old school of, yes, you don't want to give them an opportunity to set up their defense. By the same token, you still have to make the shot. And so you've got to be organized enough on offense. Now, I agree with him. You get the ball in the hands of your best player, Marcus Carr, you have to trust that he can get it in a position to maybe hit a shot or find somebody. I thought Oklahoma did a really good job marginalizing him down the sideline where he couldn't get a clean shot. So that's a split-second decision. When you're crossing midcourt, and there's by the time he's crossing midcourt, it was like about 3.5. Do you pull up and call the timeout, or do you try to see if he can veer in to get a shot away? As it turned out, he didn't get a good shot away because they were able to force him into the corner. But I've always kind of been of that mindset. Listen, I saw Rick Barnes do it. Now, he had a guy named Kevin Durant pulling the trigger on it, but I saw him do that in a game in Lubbock against Texas Tech. I saw him do it with Brandon Mouton, hit a turnaround. They got it to midcourt, called a timeout, and had about 1.4 to go, inbounded to Mouton, and he nails a shot to get the game in overtime. And I've seen Durant hit some like that. And he had guys, A.J. Abrams, he had guys who would do that. It depends on the person and the time, score, situation. Marcus Carr is the guy into whose hands you want the basketball. The question is, can you get a quality shot away? They didn't there, but they won it in overtime.
Yeah, your call meets that's the happy medium, right? Yeah. If you can advance and get a timeout and leave yourself 2.5, 3 seconds.
And that's the difference between the men's game and the women's game that I think, to me, is one of the things that the women's game uses that I'd love to see the men's game adopt. Because the women's game, they basically adopted it from the NBA. If you're inside a minute and the other team makes a basket, you can call timeout and advance the ball into the front court. And that's why I was pointing out about Baylor. That cost them in that one game. They didn't use the timeout to advance the ball in the front court. They threw the top ball in. It got intercepted and then kicked into the corner for the three-pointer to tie. But I'd love to see that rule adopted for the men's game, where you can call timeout. Then if you're inbounding at midcourt with 6.8 to go, you got time.
Do you remember? Is that a FIBA rule as well?
I think it is. And
Okay.
and you have to and you have to call it. Then you can't take a dribble and call timeout.
Right. You know why? This is the reason, the main reason, probably the only reason why I like the NIT. And I don't know why the NCAA does this. The NIT is played under FIBA rules.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Which I think is, I'm like, wow, this feels better, a little more fluid, a little more connected than the normal men's game does. So I don't know why the NCAA just doesn't go to FIBA rules for the men's game, period. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little football, Craig. We got coaches up for contract extensions now. You got, if you include Torrey Becton, which if you look at my story at Horns 24/7, no disrespect to Torrey Becton because I said 7 football assistant coaches. Torrey's kind of on his own deal as a head strength coach. But you've got Jeff Choate, Tashard Choice, Blake Gideon, Terry Joseph, Pete Kwiatkowski, A.J. Milwee, Kyle Flood, Torrey Becton, all getting contract extensions. You've got Choate, Choice, Gideon, Joseph, PK, and Milwee. Their contracts, along with the contracts of Jeff Banks and Bo Davis, those contracts are going to expire now at the end of the 2024 season. So in February of 2025 is when those contracts will expire. You've got Kyle Flood, who gets a raise and an extension. I'll go through that here in just a second. But Kyle Flood has a contract now that's going to extend him through the 2025 season. So he's under contract until February of 2026. As far as the raises go, Jeff Choate getting an 8.7% raise. He'll make $625,000 this season and $675,000 next season. Kyle Flood, 6% increase. That's going to take him to $1.325 million in 2024 and $1.4 million annually on his extension. And then A.J. Milwee, who obviously the lead recruiter for Arch Manning, he's one of the biggest reasons why Arch Manning is at Texas. He's getting a significant bump, a 13.3% raise to $425,000 over the next 2 seasons. And by the way, in case you need some reminding, Bo Davis and Jeff Banks got extensions after last off season. So you've got PK, and PK didn't get a raise. He did get an extension, though. You've got PK at $1.7 million, Kyle Flood making over $1 million, Jeff Banks is going to make $1.1 million this year, and Bo Davis is right at $1 million. So you got 4 assistant coaches making $1 million plus $1 million or more annually. So I think that shows you. And I mentioned this in the story, and this is kind of the thing I wanted to hit on. I think this shows, if you need any further proof that the current administration at Texas is behind Sark and is willing to give him whatever he feels he needs, not just to win now, but to be the guy that can make the transition into the SEC for this football program a smooth one. The fact that you've got this kind of pool for salary pool for assistant coaches contracts, that to me says everything right there in terms of, hey, we've seen the facilities upgrades, and I know a lot of that was on the table before Sark got here, but everything this administration has done for Sark, they're giving him all the tools that he needs to go get the job done. And on top of that, Craig, now this was all in the UT System Board of Regents on their meeting agenda, which those meetings are going to start tomorrow and Wednesday are when those meetings are going to take place. Okay. I couldn't find anything for Chris Jackson's contract in the agenda, so I don't know if that was
him sitting next to Sark on the baseline Saturday, right? At the Texas game?
Somebody
pointed out to me and said, isn't that Chris Jackson? And I couldn't see. I was blocked off a little bit.
I don't think I noticed him. No.
Well, I couldn't see for sure, and somebody thought that they saw him sitting with Sark.
The only time I really paid attention to Sark was he was up walking around like around halftime. So,
okay.
But at any rate, so I couldn't find Chris Jackson's contract on the Regents meeting agenda, but I think this points to not just the fact that the administration is valuing stability for once around the football program for the first time in a long time, and you've got some continuity with the coaching staff. I think it shows that Steve Sarkisian did a really good job of putting together an initial staff, and that's not something that we've seen all the time at Texas. Like, love Charlie Strong, but I think everybody listening now can agree that initial staff, with the exception of a coach or two, it was an abject failure. It was a disaster, that initial staff. Yeah. And we could see on Tom Herman's initial staff, even though that staff won 10 games and a New Year's Six Bowl the following year in 2018, man, in 2017, you could see there's there's some chinks in the armor here. There's a couple holes in the boat still that need to get plugged up.
Yeah.
So, and we saw by the end of year 3, most of that initial staff for Tom Herman was out. A lot of those guys got replaced. And if Texas has a season more similar to 2021 than 2022, you'll see some changes. But I think don't dismiss the fact that a coach is really good at hiring people, at that being a valuable skill. I think that was one of the best things, one of the best qualities Mac Brown brought to the table was his ability to hire good assistant coaches. And you can count Mac's hits, excuse me, a lot more than you can count his misses. Like, yeah, there's Larry McDuff, but you've also got that initial staff was with him for a while. And when it came time to replace coaches, like Everett Withers moves on and takes an NFL job, you bring in Dwayne Akina. Go down the line and find defensive coordinators. Hey, Gene Chizik leaves. Yeah, you bring in Larry McDuff, but then you bring in Will Muschamp. Ken Rucker, you want to put him in an off-field role, you bring in Major Applewhite. Major did a really good job recruiting while he was at Texas. So that was one of Mac's best traits, was the ability to always have that Rolodex handy and hire really good assistant coaches. I think you can say the same thing about Stark, because I really like this initial staff when it was put together. You moved on from Andre Coleman. Say what you want about Brendan Marion. That was an upgrade from Andre Coleman, and now you've got Chris Jackson with Brendan Marion moving on. So, and I think there's no question you're as good in as good of a situation or better with Tashard Choice replacing Stan Drayton when he moved on and got a head coaching job. So I just think this speaks to not just the administrative support, I think also the fact that Steve Sarkisian knows how to put together a staff and did a really good job putting together that initial staff, especially the strides we saw all of these assistant coaches make with their position groups from year 1 to year 2.
All right. There's our Longhorn notebook for this hour. Abe from Midland says, any XFL talk? I enjoyed watching the weekend. The Brahmas had a great fan turnout and showed how the extra point rules in the 4th and 15 after scoring can really swing a game. In the NFL, the Battlehawks would have had near zero chance of coming back.
I watched 5 minutes of the XFL.
I think it's about all I did as well.
Look, I
have nothing against them. And
No.
I'll probably watch some more, but I had so much going on, obviously Saturday and getting back and all that. It just... It was like watch for a little bit, flip back, saw a little bit more. Didn't get to see any yesterday with the women's game and all that, but I'll probably watch some
I picked
more.
the dunk contest over
Did you?
the XFL, yeah.
Okay.
Watch
Picked Mac McClung.
Watch Mac McClung save the dunk contest.
Okay.
And yes, Texter, we know now the cake was not baked. That cake had salmonella or something. I don't know. It was not very good.
There you go.
Exploded in the oven.
Somebody point out Vic Schaefer is so intense. Early in that game yesterday, Texas was up like 15-2, and if you didn't know the score, you would have thought they were down rather than up. Your thoughts on his intensity throughout the game? He's always had that. He was like that at Mississippi State. That's his way of doing it, of coaching, and his players know that. He's very and a lot of time the intensity we may not have a total read on what he's being intense about. Sometimes it's about the way his team is not executing. They made 3 or 4 at least passes into a crowded post that turned into turnovers yesterday, and that'll drive him through the roof. Upset with some substandard officiating. You'll get pretty worked up about that.
Well, this is like he's told us on this show, and he's told you, as intense as he is, the drive to win and to get where he wants his program to be, it's a miserable way to live.
That's what he says. It's a miserable way to live. He's like that. So
it really is for some of these coaches.
Yeah. I know he incredibly deeply cares about his players. And then, by the way, I don't know if you were at the building yesterday, you would have seen when the game was over, Vic stood around with the players because they'll do post-game autographs and signed every single autograph and took every single picture and was as warm and engaging with everybody afterwards. I mean, it's a different persona. I mean, when he gets on the floor, he's dialed in. That's the way he's built.
Yeah, I like this text that I think the defense, the initial defensive staff has done a tremendous job, especially after the skepticism of hiring some position coaches before the defensive coordinator. We knew there was a talent deficiency. There was going to be issues. Does that excuse how bad the defense was in 2021? No. But we saw that group improve. They got better. A year in the system, a year for PK and these assistant coaches to get on the same page, and we saw the product. And I've actually got one of our reels up on our Horn Instagram account on our social media talking about, hey, with the central nervous system of that defense, especially if Jalen Catalon is healthy for a whole year, they've got the tools to have one of the better defenses in the Big 12 again next year. And then Ice Cream Maine to finish it off said, I would rather hear y'all talk about who the Cowboys are going to draft in the 7th round than XFL talk.
There you go. It depends on your perspective on all of that. All right. Coming up, we'll have Inconceivable as we continue to light the tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9 AM 1260, live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Now, you were out on Friday, Jeff, so, fortunately, Charlotte's able to get the medication and get healthy again. But we missed Cam having, you missed out on Cam having a, really good contribution to Inconceivable.
It's good to know Cameron's contributing to the presentation a lot more recently.
Yeah, wanted to have that on that. I got a variety of things to get to here. One of those was sent to me by none other than my newlywed bride. She discovered this morning. I've forgotten where you stand on this issue. It's not an issue or just this thing, and I'll get Camus both of your opinions on this. Have you given much thought to how you would like your earthly remains to be disposed of?
I figure I'm probably going to leave this earth before my wife does, so I just told her, just cremate me and just figure out what to do with it after that.
Okay.
You want to keep me in a box or whatever?
I think if you do that, I think she should spread your ashes over Stampede Stadium.
I hope she does not do that. That would be the last thing I would want done.
Okay.
No disrespect to my own stomping grounds.
Okay.
Dude, cheaply as possible. You need to go Big Lebowski style and just put me in a Folgers can. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right.
To quote the late, great Mike Leach, I'm dead. What do I care?
Yeah, that's true. Cam, you've just really kind of begun your life, but you given any thought to how you'd want to your last earthly remnants to be disposed of?
I feel the same way about the late great Mike Leach.
Okay.
I really just do not care.
Okay.
Just don't feed me to sharks or something,
Okay.
or to the gators or anything like that.
Well, how about this? Here's you mentioned cremation.
Yeah.
There is a new method of cremation, and
it seems like there should only be one, but okay.
Well, this one, you talking about thinking outside the box. It's called water cremation. Okay. In recent years, cremation has become the most common method of postmortem body disposition, growing from around 34% in 2006 to 57.5% in 2021.
I think because it's cheaper, honestly.
Well, that's a big factor.
Yeah.
That when my wife asked for cremation, told me it wasn't the money thing. She just so it was, and she wanted her ashes scattered at Sunset Beach, North Carolina, and that's what we did.
Nice.
Awesome. that kind of thing. But my mom, we had her memorial back in November, and she wanted to be buried beside her husband. So, we certainly honored that request. Well, there's two types of cremation offered in the U.S. The more common method is the flame-based, in which a body is placed into an extremely hot chamber, and after around 2 hours,
cremation sound like burgers, like a flame-based.
It is. It's flame-broiled. It goes into an extremely hot chamber, and after around 2 hours, it turns into ash and mineral fragments. Then here's the other thing. I don't know if I'd never heard of this, alkaline hydrolysis or water cremation, which uses hot water, alkaline chemicals, and pressure to break down a body in 4 to 5 hours. Now, the Cremation Association of North America, you don't have a membership to the Cremation Association of North America.
I missed the deadline to apply.
Okay. Well, they say the latter is gentler, and it's also more environmentally friendly and yields more remains compared to flame-based cremation. But despite its favorable reputation to some, water cremation is illegal in over 20 states, including Texas.
Really?
Yep. Now, Senate Bill 150, filed by State Senator Nathan Johnson, is hoping to change that. So the conversation is going on that.
Why is it illegal?
Well, it's mainly faith-based or religious-based. For example, one organization that does not think that alkaline hydrolysis should be legal in the state is the Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops. Quote, "We will continue to oppose these bills," says Jennifer Allman, the executive director of that conference. "Alkaline hydrolysis fails to treat the body with dignity and respect." So anyway, they said that, and then the person with the other cremation association said, "I respect what they're saying, but if they personally don't like it or if they feel water cremation is disrespectful to the body, they're under no obligation to choose alkaline hydrolysis. But it's important for me, it's very important for me for families to at least have the option and exercise the rights to freedom when it comes to body disposition.
It varies from person to person. Like
Right.
my grandmother, when she passed away, she was a devout Catholic, so she wanted to go whole, like no organ donation,
Right.
nothing.
Right.
That's just how she rolled.
Yeah.
That's just what she thought. So
Hey, you love to quote Luther from Coach. Remember, he's like, hook me up to every possible machine if I'm on life support. Don't pull the plug on me. It's like, whatever you do, if there's even just one part of me still alive, keep it going.
oh man,
Yeah.
we
Speaking
got a Coach reference. We can just quit for the rest of the day.
Speaking of death, prosecutors in Romania said on Saturday they've opened a criminal investigation into 5 doctors suspected of reusing hundreds of medical implants extracted from dead patients. So taking body parts out of the dead, kind of a body snatchers kind of.
Is it talking about like if you got like steel rods or a plate somewhere?
Well, one of the 5 doctors who was working at a hospital in the eastern Romanian city of Iasi has been taken into custody pending the investigation on charges of abuse of power and bribe taking. They say the unnamed doctor oversaw a network of 4 other physicians who provided him with cardiac implants extracted from deceased patients without prior approval from them or their families. The prosecutors allege the doctor performed 238 surgeries over 7 years illegally using implants extracted from dead patients or of unknown provenance and putting his patients at risk of serious complications or death. So, yeah, now think about this for a moment, Jeff. This is taking place in Romania.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's in Romania, don't you? The Carpathian Mountains. You know what's in the Carpathian Mountains, don't you? The province of Transylvania. And you know what's in Transylvania? That's where Count Dracula lived. So all they're doing is just, regenerating,
Now here, can I ask a dumb question? Because I honestly don't know the answer.
Okay.
When you die and you're cremated, like let's say you got a plate somewhere, do they take? Does the mortuary, do they take out like all medical screws and plates? And if you got like a rod in your leg, I don't know. Or do they let it burn?
I don't think it can
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or does it like when you're cremated, does it all just kind of melt together? Like, is it that hot? I don't know.
That's a good question.
I don't, because like, don't they take out like, if you have dental implants, don't they take those out? Like you have metal dental implants, I think.
You're asking me about an area of which I know not.
Okay. Well, you're such a sea of knowledge.
That one I don't know.
Okay.
That one I don't know.
Specs text line 337-3776.
Okay. Somebody says, how about an old mafia trick for body disposal? Soak the body in a bathtub filled with lye. Yeah, that's you could do that. Somebody said, I want to be stuffed and brought out during the holidays. There you go. Maybe with a Santa suit on or something like that. Okay. Have you ever adopted a dog?
Yeah.
You did, didn't you?
Sorry, I'm just the idea of like, hey, what are we gonna do with Grandpa? Let's just stuff him and put him in the rocking chair.
Yeah. There you go. In the Buffalo, Niagara Falls area, there's a dog named Ralphie, French Bulldog. It's been returned to the shelter there for the 3rd time.
Oh no!
Because the dog has been described as a jerk dog. The latest lady to return said Ralphie proved to be more than she could handle. Said the dog is kind of a canine menace, and it went viral back in January, an eye-catching ad for potential adopters. Ralphie was described as a terror in a somewhat small package. Quote, everything belongs to him. If you dare test his ability to possess the things, wrath will ensue. This is Ralphie's 3rd unsuccessful adoption, according to the shelter. The dog's first family rehomed him after training was unsuccessful. Second family surrendered him to shelter after he annoyed their older dog. Quote, what they actually meant was Ralphie is a fire-breathing demon and will eat our dog. But hey, he's only 26 pounds, read a Facebook post. He's now enrolled in an intensive 6-week boarding and training program that starts today. The shelter said that they would start vetting prospective adopters immediately and that the ideal adopter would work with the trainer while Ralphie is at the residential training. The shelter noted that, quote, those who believe that all Ralphie needs is love should not apply. He will totally exploit that.
All right, so he's very territorial, which makes him like every other dog that I've ever known in my life.
Yeah, but it sounds like he's beyond that.
Well,
something to consider. All right, hour number 2 of Light the Tower coming up on the Horn. Second hour of Light the Tower on the Horn on this President's Day. Hope you're doing well. If you had the holiday, hope you're enjoying it. If not, hope your day is going all right. Craig Way and Jeff Howe, our producer, Cam Parker alongside as well. Got the chance to meet Cam's dad yesterday. It's out at the women's basketball game. Was that just something you've been planning for a while, or was it like, hey, why don't you come on out to the game?
No, he was working down around campus, Bass Concert Hall.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, the women's are playing, right? And I was like, yeah, come on down. I know he's an avid poster apparently on the Horns 247 message board.
Yep,
so.
he's on the flagship message board. Cam's dad outed himself. It's like, oh, my son Cameron Parker is producer of Light the Tower. I'm like, well, yeah, no, probably wouldn't have just given myself up like that, but to each their own.
Good dude. Seemed to enjoy the game.
Yeah, he loves watching Vic Shaver's teams play.
Yeah, with that intensity. By the way, which reminds me, Wednesday night is our second special edition of Longhorn Weekly with Vic Shaver out at Pluckers. So we'll be out there on Wednesday evening, 6:30. It's a 6:30 to 7:30 show, and it'll be heard on 105.3 The Bat. I hope you can come on out. We had a great crowd last time. Also visited with Rory Harmon and Taylor Jones, and we'll probably have a couple other players out there again this week and talk some basketball. And we'll talk early reveal stuff because just as we mentioned last hour, the early reveal for the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, and for those of you who don't know what that is, I think, well, would it be safe to say, Jeff, it's the basketball version of the college football playoff rankings, basically, the early reveal.
Yeah.
Because you get a look at what the tournament selection committee would do if where they would have everything rated if that were the case, where they would have it. And for the men, their first early reveal was last Saturday, and Texas was the number 5 overall seed. In other words, the highest number 2 seed heading down the home stretch of this. So there was that. The women's first early reveal came about a week and a half ago, and Texas was a 3 seed in that. There's another one coming this week, and I think there'll be a 3 or a 4. They have lost one game since then, but it was at Iowa State, and that loss is aging well, especially with Iowa State beating Baylor on Saturday in Waco. So I don't think they'll be any lower than a 4 and may still be holding their seed as a 3, and that would be. So we'll talk about some of that as well with Vic Shaver.
Women's tournament still campus sites first and second round?
Yes, it is, and that's why I say this reveal thing is really crucial for the Texas women because you really want to be one of those top 16. If you finish as a top 4 seed in one of those 4 regions, you really want to be a top 16. And if you can, that means you're playing first and second round at home. So, by the way, we have that Rory Harmon. Let's listen to this. This was after the game yesterday. Rory had 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Hadijah Fye had a double-double. They had very balanced attack as well, and this was the conversation we had with Rory Harmon, the Longhorns point guard, after the 74-48 win for Texas over West Virginia yesterday. You come off a game where it was really physical at Iowa State. How much of an initiative was it to be physical today? Because you guys looked physical not only inside but even on the perimeter as well.
I mean, he's always talking about getting paint points, and I don't feel like we've been getting enough of the paint points. It's just being aggressive on the outside, getting to the line like we did. I mean, we were knocking them down today at the free throw line, so that's just something that we need to continue to do. Yeah, you were on a roll today from the foul line as well, and I know you're a much better free throw shooter than the number would say. Was there anything in specific that you did that all of a sudden has got the free throws flowing back in for you now? No, I've always been a pretty decent free throw shooter. I guess just going downhill for some reason, but I've blocked in. Been focused, shooting about 50 to 100 a day, just making sure that I'm able to get online because the ball's going to be in my hand at the end of the game. So, I mean, being able to knock those free throws down when somebody's fouling me, that's something I have to focus on. How much now? First of all, you had some time between the Monday game and this. How important was that to get a couple of days off for everybody to kind of rest up the body and mind a little bit? Oh, that was probably the best week of my life here at UT. Just being able to have a couple off days. He gave us a couple off days, and I take those off days serious. Make sure I'm getting the treatment and recovery, and just coming back and focusing that we still have games to play, but we got our rest. Now it's time to play.
Yeah, and since you don't have a midweek game, I guess you have one more day of rest, a day off tomorrow, and then it's the big battle for first place with Oklahoma. How much you look forward to going on the road to try to get a stranglehold on winning the conference title?
Oh, it's always good to play Oklahoma. A very competitive team. They score so much, so playing defense is going to be another focus like any other game for us. But, I think it'll be good. We just got to lock in like we did today, just be able to run the team and execute and just get things going.
Yeah, that's. I did find it funny that she said it might have been the best week of my life, getting 2 days off last week, and they have another day off today, and then they'll be back at it and grinding. So again, we'll visit with Vic Schaefer on Wednesday night at Pluckers, and that's why I said it's kind of fascinating with this early reveal stuff. On the men's side, yes, great. You want to be a as high a seed as you can be, and if you're top 4, that's great and all that sort of thing. The difference between being a 2 and a 3 might be a little more widespread than being a 3 or a 4. They're pretty close. Even a 4 and a 5 might not be that much separating a 4 or 5 on the men's side. The women's side, it's huge because if you're a 4, you're playing at home. If you're a 5, you're on the road. So that's why it's important for them to do that. Clean up from hour number 1 on the Specs text line. Joe number 2 said, "What a great name for a bad dog, Ralphie." That was the French bulldog. And they said the one other thing I didn't mention in that story. They said if you have children or pets, probably not a good reason, probably not a good idea to try to adopt that dog. Has a history of biting. And it's funny how they say children or pets. You're right about that, but just regular people. I mean, who wants to be bitten by the dog? Right?
I feel like some people who adopt animals, though, I feel like a lot of people that do it, the ones that end up taking the dog back, 9 times out of 10, at the start, it was a ready, shoot, aim proposition.
Yeah, I think you're right. Somebody mentioned that lye is an alkaline solution. About that water cremation, somebody says, donate, cremate, dump the ashes in the San Marcos River. No, we want to do that. I like the San Marcos River.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want my ashes dumped in the San Marcos River.
Can I tell you that one of my proudest moments as a parent, and I've had many, many, I've been blessed and fortunate and hope I have a few more. Still got a kid in college. So,
you hear that, Jason?
Yeah. But one of my proudest moments as a parent was to see my daughter Julianne do what so many other Texas State students do upon graduation, is to head right for the river and jump in cap and gown.
That started right around the time I graduated in 2009. It was kind of a couple rogue students that did it, and now it's just like tradition down there.
Yeah. I mean, hundreds of them are jumping in it. She did. She went. Now, what she did was to go inside and change into, I think, a swimsuit underneath, so she wouldn't have her, her
good clothes.
Their good clothes. Then came out and went with a lot of them and jumped in the river. So she did do that, and then went back and changed and into the decent clothes, the dry clothes, and all that stuff afterwards. And that's okay.
That's all went to dinner at some establishment in San Marcos.
You know what we did? San Marcos was booked. We had a deal for about 30 friends and family at it was at Buca de Beppo. That's what we did, because we got a whole room in there with Buca, and they liked it. So it worked out. It worked out well. But I thought that was, I like that little tradition there, that jumping in the river
fun
thing. Somebody else said, I want my ashes sprinkled all over auditorium shores. Back in the day of the memories of the Austin Aqua Fest, the T-Bird Festival used to be the spot to hang out. So there you go.
What was the Aquafest pin gimmick? You had the little Aquafest pin?
Yeah, people had those pins. Yes, I remember hearing about that. So Daryl says, were you able to catch the end of the Daytona 500? I saw the highlights of Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s victory. Overtime, double overtime, the longest Daytona 500 in history, a record 212 laps. And it's also, here's another landmark moment for that race. It was the first Daytona 500 winning team co-owned by a black man and woman.
Really?
During Black History Month. How about that? Huh. So JTG Daugherty Racing, third win of his career, and that's the first single-car team to win the Daytona 500, brother, since the legendary Wood Brothers Racing did it with Trevor Bayne back in 2011. So yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
You know what fascinates me about NASCAR is the team drama that can go on. The race team drama.
Yeah.
Like I was reading a story yesterday pre-race about basically Richard Petty not being very happy that Jimmy Johnson's kind of come into his operation and started taking over everything.
Yeah.
So now there's heat between Jimmy Johnson and Richard Petty.
Yeah. There's a lot of that sort of thing. Eagle Scouts has had a good friend do that at Texas State. She came up with a compound fracture of the leg.
Nice.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I do remember telling Julianne Fortier when she was walking down, I said, pick a deep spot.
Yeah, because it's not that deep.
No. I said, pick a good spot. You don't want to do that. A from Midland is insisting that we give the XFL a shot, Jeff, because he said he had a good time.
I'm going to give it a shot.
You guys are missing out. Y'all should check it out over this weekend.
I'm going to give it a shot, but Jericho Sims was in the dunk contest, so that's why I wanted to watch.
Yeah. I said I'm going to watch some more. I'm also going to watch the USFL, nostalgically, if nothing else, to see some of those same team names from back in the day, the Birmingham Stallions and was it Philadelphia Stars and those teams.
Tampa Bay Bandits.
Yeah. So I'll do
I don't
that.
know if they're a team or not.
Yeah.
The Michigan Panthers.
Yeah. So I'll do that. I'll watch some spring football. It's not that I have anything against spring football. I don't. I have nothing against it. I like watching the Longhorns go through spring practices.
Got a few Longhorns in the XFL. Jacoby Jones, I saw, had a couple of plays for the Orlando team the other night.
Yeah.
Ben Davis is a captain for the San Antonio team.
I have nothing against any of that. And then on my, you know what, I don't really have a favorite team because I haven't watched enough. But I can tell you one of my favorite names is the team yesterday, St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yeah,
that's a cool name.
I did that.
Yeah, so I got nothing against that. It's just my schedule is not allowing me to see an awful lot outside of what I need to see, with college basketball and then obviously calling the games. So yeah, that's it. And then now we got college baseball starting, which we haven't dived into yet.
Craig's got to save his TV time for baseball season when the Dodgers are on this summer.
Well, that's coming too.
Yeah,
I wasn't even talking about majorly. I was talking about Longhorn baseball.
Speaking of Longhorns, real quick, did you see the? So they had the Doak Walker ceremony.
Yes, great photos that John Bianco posted.
There's a photo of Bijan, Ricky, Earl, and Deontay Foreman all in the same photo.
Very cool. I
saw somebody post that on Twitter. It said 4th and goal at the 1. You got to give the ball to one of these guys. Who you giving it to?
Everybody's going to say Earl.
Probably. You say Earl, but man. I feel like people sleep on just how tough of a runner Ricky was.
There's no doubt.
Just a blend of speed and power like we haven't seen very many backs have.
And if the late Cedric Benson had been around with us, he would have been in that photo as well.
I mean, maybe not a better goal line red zone runner in program history.
Yeah.
Than Ced Benson.
Yeah, it's something else. That's a good point there.
Didn't it crazy though? Like it seemed like anytime you had a short yardage situation or a goal to go, it's like just give Ced the ball and score and get out of here.
Yeah. Stoner says Jimmy Johnson's in the middle of tearing apart another franchise. Hate to see it there in the racing thing there. Big Rip Bad says Craig's an NFL purist. No, not an NFL purist. Definitely not. Can we have a breaking news sounder there for you, Cam? Breaking news sounder coming up here. Brand new AP Top 10 men's basketball poll is out. Texas number 8.
Okay.
In the poll.
Been in the top 10 all year?
Houston's still number 1 in the country. Texas is number 8 in the AP, latest AP Top 25 college basketball poll. All right. We need a break. When we come back, we'll have our Flex 30 update. Shocker! The reports. We'll have that in our Flex 30 update. And then, of course, we have our bottom of the hour, second hour, Longhorn Notebook when we continue with Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Okay, into February now. The weather's, well, it's nice this week, so hopefully it stays nice. I don't know. It could always change around. But whether the weather is good or bad, what about your health? Is that good or bad, fellas? How many of you listening are in that 250 to 300-pound weight scale? If you want to try to regain control of your weight, your health, your life, that's Total Men's Primary Care. Through a combination of coaching and diet and medication, Total Men's Primary Care can help you lose the most weight while ensuring that you stay healthy and then help your body develop those long-term results. It's real easy to do this. You go to TotalMens.com, click on that big yellow button where it says book an appointment. Then you can book an appointment at any of the 20-plus Austin area locations and perhaps be seen even that same day. So go to TotalMens.com, click on that big yellow button to book an appointment. Total Men's Primary Care. It's the doctor's office just for men. Yes, this is just your average white band here, Craig and Jeff. Cam here. There. We pick up the pieces there. We try to pick up the pieces of the weekend there. Longhorn baseball certainly trying to pick up the pieces of the weekend. We'll get to that in a moment. But right now, let's jump right in with our Flex 30 update. Well, it happens. It definitely happens in when you get into the playoffs. Surprises happen. And Cameron Parker, could you have been as surprised as about anybody else to see the number one team in the state in 6A girls basketball, Austin High, get knocked out in the second round of the playoffs?
They looked a little fragile in their by-district round games, so I figured at least making it close to state, but second round, that's disappointing for that program. Stunned
I was to see that turn out the way it did in the Region 4 playoffs then. In terms of some of the other action, Lake Travis with a win and advancing to the regional quarterfinal round. And they're going to be taking on San Antonio Clark in the regional quarterfinal round. So yeah, I know it surprised some folks to see that happen there, but it happened. They lost 52-51 to Cibolo Steel, and then the other surpriser, I think, also. Not so much that Lady Bird Johnson of San Antonio beat Vista Ridge, but they, throttled them. Beat them 68-41, beat them by 27 points. So it's an all San Antonio matchup there on that side and on the other side as well as they go into those regional quarterfinals this weekend. So that guarantees that, that the region is going to have at least 2 teams get into the Sweet 16 there, which is in San Antonio there. So they'll have that as possible. By the way, did anybody know that there's a regional tournament that'll be played at Buda Johnson? 2A. There's a 2A Sweet 16 and Elite 8 that'll be played at Buda Johnson this week. Anyway, boys playoffs get started in earnest. Congratulations to Anderson, which won that play-in game to advance in. They knocked out Dripping Springs, so Anderson gets into that. Are you on the grid for any games this week?
I'll be at Cedar Ridge High School for McCallum versus Eastview. In Anderson, they play Stony Point, Craig. Stony Point's had a really good year. That's going to be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, so that's as well. And I'll check with Roger Wallace to see what they've got a game tonight, too. I need to find out which one they've got tonight. He told me in passing, but I didn't have. So there is going to be a game at
I think
televised.
Buda. They're doing something with Buda Johnson, I believe.
You may be right on that. We'll find out here before we get done with that. All right, so there it is, your Flex 30 update. Upsets on the girls' side. Boys playoffs getting underway. We'll keep you posted on all of that. Right now, it's time for a second hour Longhorn Notebook. Longhorn Notebook brought to you by Aaron Bowersock, your home loan expert, your Longhorn lender. Check her out on the web at bowersockteam.com.
Before we get to baseball, just one quick note. Just want to tell everybody, get over to Horns 24/7. We talked about the coaches getting contract extensions. Tashard Choice is one of those coaches. Mike Roach, the Stampede, drops every Monday morning at 8 a.m. It's our collection of recruiting, news, notes, and nuggets. Tashard Choice was a speaker at the I-20 Coaches Clinic in the Metroplex, and Mike was there, so he's got tidbits from what Coach Choice said, talking to some of the high school coaches, how impressed they were with everything he said, and kind of some insight into what Tashard Choice is looking for when recruiting running backs. So get over to Horns 24/7. and check all of that out. Craig, I think we kind of delayed the inevitable long enough talking about Longhorn baseball.
I don't think we did it intentionally, but it's easy to be out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
too.
and you asked me how much I watched this weekend. The only game that I actually watched, because I listened to the Arkansas game, listened to the call of that one, missed the Missouri game because of basketball on Saturday, and then watched the Vanderbilt game yesterday.
Okay.
And kind of wish I hadn't, but sometimes those things, as a great man once said, that's the way baseball go.
Thank you, Ron Washington. The Friday game, high quality baseball game, scoreless through 6 innings. Lucas Gordon looked really sharp through 5, and really LeBaron Johnson had a good 6th inning. It was in the 7th, back-to-back base hits to open the inning, and then to the bullpen, and then after that the struggles happened. After that, gave up the 3 runs, came back with 2, and then what may have been forgotten is the Longhorns had the tying and go-ahead runs at second base and third base with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th. And he had back-to-back freshmen at the plate, and there were back-to-back strikeouts in the inning ended there. But Arkansas going to its closer, too. It made a big difference. It was a good ball game, and the Razorbacks won that one 3-2. Saturday, Longhorns dug themselves an early hole. Zane Morehouse struggled early. Then he seemed to right the ship in his last 2 frames. He retired the last 6 batters he faced. But then the Longhorns fought back, tied it at 5, but gave up the walk-off hit in the bottom of the 9th in Game 2. And then, like you said, yesterday was a meltdown. It was a meltdown. And I completely understand what David Pierce is looking at here early. What he's trying to do is find out either A, combinations, and B, who is individually going to step forward at some of those positions. So you had 4 brand new infielders starting yesterday. And unfortunately, it didn't work out well. There were 4 errors in that 8-run second inning, all 8 runs unearned, 5 total errors in the game against a good ball club. That's going to make you pay otherwise. So you look at it and say, there are things to do, and they'll work on that and get ready for the home opener tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock at UFC. Now, are you doing both? Are you going to bounce
I'll
one
be
over
at baseball at least for a little bit.
like me?
Yeah.
Tom Barfield will work with me on the call. We'll do the probably first 3-4 innings, depending on how long that goes, and then I'll obviously zip across the freeway to get ready for Texas Iowa State. And Tom will finish out the call, and then Keith Moreland will handle the post game down on the field interview for us.
Yeah, you can say 2 things about this baseball team, and both can be true. You can understand that this thing is a work in progress, and they've got youth, and it's going to be rough early at times. We knew the potential was there for that. So, not to excuse it, but there's a reason why some of that stuff happens. And you can also say, as with as much positives as you wanted to take away from Friday and Saturday, Sunday was just bad baseball. And 5 errors and everything else. I felt really bad for Travis Staley because there were situations where he did his job, 2 outs and runners on base, or 1 out and runners on base. All you can ask of your pitcher, hey, just induce a ground ball, let your defense work. And he did that on multiple occasions. Defense didn't back him up, and everything got away in that 1 inning. I was thinking about this Saturday, Craig, after the Missouri game, just going back and following box scores and seeing how that thing unfolded. It just seemed like some of the things we saw last year with this team when they would lose, like just the giving up the big inning and then the inability to get one yourself.
Yep.
That was kind of the story of the first 2 games. And they had chances. I mean, like you just laid out, they had chances in both games to break through. But there's big innings, and then there's what we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
Where it's just you're pretty much out of it at that point.
And that's where you use the non-conference portion of the season to try to figure out where you are with things. Texas A&M Corpus Christi comes in tomorrow, then Indiana over the weekend. So yeah, there's going to be that they're going to have to deal with. Hey, I wanted to get to a text. And this wasn't on the Specs text line. It was from our good friend Mark Rosner, who
the great Mark
covers
Rosner.
basketball. He said, hey guys, I enjoyed the conversation about the late game last shots. He said, my own observation is that some coaches decide based on whether they have an experienced guard they trust to make the right decision and play without a timeout. On the Mouton shot in Lubbock, if I recall correctly, there was no time to dribble. They had to pass to midcourt, call timeout. Brilliant play. They used cross-court inbounds to Mouton. That's exactly right. Roz was there that night. I was there. It's right. There was no dribble. It was a cross-court pass to Mouton. Boom, call timeout, then set it up for that. And it is kind of along the lines of what Roz was just saying there. If you got an experienced guard, and Rodney Terry pointed that out on the postgame interview when he said, no, did not want to call timeout. Oklahoma had no timeouts left, not give them a chance to set up anything, inbound and go. That's why I said credit Oklahoma for doing an excellent job of marginalizing Marcus Carr down into the corner where he didn't get a really good look, a really clean look. The old school in me says get it to the front court, call a timeout. It would have, 3 dribbles, you may be able to get it across midcourt and still have at least 3 seconds. It was 6.8 when it went in. So you might have, 3, almost 4 full seconds to get it in the front court, then use a timeout.
Yeah.
There were 2 timeouts remaining there, but I think Rodney liked the idea of get it in the hands of our best player, most experienced guard, let him see if he can get a quality shot. And then that's where you tip your cap to Oklahoma for walling it off to where he didn't have a good look there, because you think probably he can get in the front court with his dribble, cut inside, and have a good shot at the basket. They didn't allow him that alley, that pad to the bucket. So, good point.
Jabari Rice, probably Big 12 newcomer of the week again this week?
If it's not Grady Dick.
True, yeah.
He had 2 huge games.
True.
And I look at all those numbers on that because I vote on those awards as well. And like, for example, in Lubbock, Jabari had 8 points. And then he had 24 in the big one. Grady Dick had like a 26 and a 17 or something. And both were wins.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, I mean, those are I'm just guessing based on how the voting populace goes on those sorts of things, that I think they look at a variety of things. How many games did the team win or lose during the week, and what was the players' impact on those games? There's no question that he had a gigantic impact in the Saturday win for Texas over Oklahoma. And the same thing goes through with player of the week and newcomer of the week in basketball, and in baseball it's player of the week, newcomer of the week, and pitcher of the week. So there's three awards that go out weekly in baseball as well. So there's that on all of that. And we've talked about this, and we'll talk more about it. Rodney Terry's got a media availability today, an in-person media availability day, doesn't it?
12:30.
Yeah,
12:30.
Yeah. Are you going over, or is the Horns 24/7 crew got that covered?
No, I've got to write hoops today, and I've pretty much got what I need from Saturday.
Okay.
The only thing I would ask RT if I went, and I don't know if it's uncouth to ask at this point, the Caleb Grill, Dylan Mitchell deal from Ames. Did he talk to the league about it? Did he and TJ have a conversation? Because I think we all saw after the fact. At least after the fact.
Yeah.
It was much worse than what I initially thought.
I can tell you this much. I know he had a conversation with the league about it. That I know. Yeah. In fact, he had a conversation with the league about it right after the game. he wasn't happy about it, obviously, at the time, with good reason. The Iowa State team is a little bit different than the one that beat Texas back on January 18th. They got Jazz Kuntz back, another guy who can blur the line of a clean foul, that kind of thing.
Why do I feel like Caleb Grill's going to catch all kinds of hell tomorrow from the corral?
You know what? It's funny you say that. At Pluckers last week during Rodney's show, and of course each week we profile a student ambassador from the corral, and the student who was with us last week was talking about how they like to get on the other team, blah blah blah. It was our guy Mummin Ahmed, who's done 2 years in a row, and he's a great guy. And he was talking about, and somebody hollered out, one of the students, because they have a big contingency that shows up at Pluckers, that showed up and said, Caleb Grill, and he goes, yeah, Caleb Grill next week. So I think you're right. I think they'll be on Caleb Grill, and of course where those guys are situated, they're not far from the Cyclone bench.
Yeah,
that's what a home court advantage is about.
That's one of the things I'm writing today. Like, it makes such a difference when you've got the students just right on top of the opposing bench. And it's a different – I know it's a much better basketball arena than the Irwin Center was, and we can go through all the differences, but the environment created by
physical
the students,
structure, yes, but more
by the students being that close to the court, and the energy just kind of goes up.
Yep.
Whereas at the times I felt like in the Irwin Center, it was coming down from the mezzanine to the court and then – filling out from there. Yeah, it was, man, it's just, I asked Rodney about it after the game on Saturday. He said, well, he's like, you're spot on. He's like, we actually have a home court advantage now. And it's total. And Rodney coached enough games in the Irwin Center to know what that's like and what it's not like. This is a totally different deal.
At the Irwin Center, to be fair to that physical structure, which was built in 1977, if you had a full house, that's a big if, 16,700. If you had a full house in a high-profile game, it could be really noisy.
Oh, yeah.
It could be. But those situations were few and far between. It just didn't happen.
That might be once
often.
or twice a year.
Yeah. It just didn't happen often.
Like a North Carolina or a Michigan State comes in, or Kansas.
Yeah, A&M on occasion.
Maybe a select Oklahoma game.
Yeah. It just didn't happen often. Here, it's been every game. Every game. To have the students there and have that lower level filled like that. Now, I did see, it's the first time I can remember this season that the upper corral wasn't filled in that walkway standing room area. That was the first time I see where it wasn't completely filled. But I bet you it will be tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Obviously, it will be for the final home game against Kansas. So those are things to keep in mind. It has become a great home court environment. And I will tell you this, my Big 12 play-by-play brethren, as Rod Babers likes to say, the secret society of play-by-play. There's nothing secret about us.
Yeah, there is. Craig's downplaying this.
Hate to tell you, there's nothing secret about us.
Wait till Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament when they have their annual meeting.
Which I have missed the last 2 years because they had baseball.
They're gonna kick you out. Well, actually, conference realignment's gonna kick you out.
Yes, it is, and it's funny you mention. I've got another thought on it. I'll get to. But all of the Big 12 guys who've come in, Toby Rowland of OU, the latest to tell me, he said it was amazing. He was amazed by everything he saw. But just about everybody who has come in has said they've been amazed by what they've seen at Moody Center. Now, yes,
are they gonna eliminate you and T-Row like mafia style?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. Toby and I both have missed it the last 2 years because of baseball conflicts, and we're missing it again this year. So this will be the third straight year that we will have missed the dinner because we have a baseball game. And I'm doing the Tuesday night game against Sam Houston State that week with Ty Harrington. I think Ty's working Wednesday. I am going up Wednesday because I want to be in place just in case. The men will play on Thursday.
Yeah.
And if they end up winning the regular season, they're playing early in the day, in that 1, 4, 5, 8 side of the bracket. So you want to make sure you're going to go up. So I will go up on Wednesday. And so I'm going to miss the Tuesday games. I'm going to miss the Tuesday night dinner. Where we all get together, the Big 12 guys, and take that picture. And Toby and I on Saturday made a pact. I said to him, next year, we need to go. Even if there's a baseball game, we'll line up a substitute for the last time.
Yeah,
we're both going to miss it this year, but next year, even if there's a even if there's a baseball game, we need to go up on Tuesday and be there for that dinner for the last time.
And then they'll drive you over to the Kansas side and find a cornfield somewhere, and we'll
dispose of us in the Missouri River.
Texas and OU will suddenly need play-by-play guys
because they'll just be gone.
Big 12 tournament games.
We will be cremated and deposited into the Missouri River. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think you'll be that lucky at that point, Craig.
Yeah, they'll just dump us into the Missouri
concrete
River.
Boots and such.
Yeah, absolutely understand. All right. We'll be back to wrap up. Somebody pointed out, hey, Parker said UConn in 2009, 2010 was rocking hard. It was when UConn was here. I remember that. It was really cool. All right. We'll be back to wrap up today's edition of Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. Hey, you've heard me telling you about Divided Sky Roofing and Solar and how they're certified electrical contractors. And if you had a power outage during the recent icy weather, they could have set you up with a backup battery or a Generac generator. But don't forget, they're the experts that we all trust for all of your roofing needs. If you're worried that you may have had some roof damage, maybe a tree fell onto the roof, or maybe you just had roof damage as well, you can trust John Hardy to give you an honest assessment. And if you do have some damage, it is possible that you can get a new roof with those Timberline solar shingles. Maybe you checked into solar in the past and you think it's just too expensive. It's worth a virtual appointment online just to visit with them about it. And all solar products are eligible for a 30% tax credit. No money down, as little as $100 per month. And with solar shingles, you own your own power. You're paying yourself each month, not the power company. It's just a 15-minute phone call or a digital conversation with Divided Sky that can get you all the information you need on a new roof with solar shingles. Why not get in touch with them today? Call 512-995-ROOF. That's 512-995-ROOF. TEC license number 37397. You can check them out on the web at dividedskyaustin.com. We get ready to wrap it up, and before we do that, there's some other news that we need to pass along. Legendary businessman Red McCombs has passed away at the age of 95. Driving force, obviously, to bring the Spurs to San Antonio in the NBA, and owned the franchise for years. Obviously, impact he had at the University of Texas.
No question.
The McCombs School of Business, Red and Charlie McCombs Field, the stadium, the softball complex, big benefactor there. And his family released the statement saying the entire McCombs family is heartbroken to announce that our father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Red McCombs, passed away yesterday as he drew his last breath peacefully at home. He was surrounded by family who loved and adored him. Red was a visionary entrepreneur who touched many lives and impacted our community in immeasurable ways. But to us, he was first and always foremost Dad or Pop. We mourn the loss of a Texas icon. And he was that.
No question.
Definitely all of that. All right, we're done for this afternoon's, or today's program. It's about to be afternoon. Chad and Zay will be up next, but more on that. And then we'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. For our man behind the glass, our producer, Cam Parker. And for my co-host, Jeff Howell, I'm Craig Way. Thanks for joining us. We'll visit with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. right here on Light the Tower.